I'm very happy to introduce David. He's going to be our next speaker. And I have a household announcement, a logistical announcement about this. This is the first time also I think David will present his work in English. So we have prepared for this, and if there's anything that needs translation, Marianne is here. But I know there's a lot of French speakers in the room too. So during the Q&A, if you are bilingual, and if you can ask your question both in French and in English, French for David, English for the rest of the hall, because sometimes if you have to improvise or absorb new knowledge, it's easier to do in the language that you know of. So that was actually the only logistical announcement we have now. So I'll give it to David to talk about the Congolese perspective on infrastructure and extractivism.
Thank you. Yeah, I will do my best to try to be good and to speak it very well in English. First of all, thank you for the invitation, Marion and all the team of SICT Summit. In 1892, just 7 years after the Berlin Conference, a geologist by the name of Jules Cornet used this phrase to describe Congo. The geological scandal. In other words, the only thing that the Europeans, the colonizers, saw in this country is not its population. It's not our capacity to do good music. If you know Congolese, we do some rumba music, and it's really good. We are really, really good in that. But we have also good mathematic people and everything. But what they saw is not what is up the ground. I don't know if it's good, but what interested them was what is under the ground only. So keep it in mind, because this is the focus of my presentation, but is also the focus of what how it's going on in Congo. They don't consider people. What is only considered in this country is the resources. But I won't do the same stupid thing like them, because first of all, I want to talk about my people, because Congo is rich by its people also. Now we are around 100 million people with a big device. We are like 400 Europeans say ethnics. I don't like much that word. I say people, because 400 people, different culture, languages, in big territories which is bigger than, for example, Belgium. So it's a people, it's not an ethnic. But in addition of its human population, Congo is also rich in biodiversity, as you can see it on my PowerPoint. And just first of all, let's say it's beautiful, really. I've been there. Congo is really beautiful, and beyond its beauty, its forest. Its forest provides crucial services to all living beings around the world, for the entire planet. Because this forest is the largest green lung of the world now, thanks to Bolsonaro policies. So the Congo Basin is the largest carbon sink in the world, absorbing more carbon than the Amazon. This is our data from 2021. It's sad for the Amazon, by the way. Now let's talk a little bit about our history. And first of all, I want to apologize to those who may remind me that Congo, this territory has existed before the Berlin Conference. It's true, but I want to talk about the contemporary form of Congo. And it started at the Berlin Conference in 1885. So in 1885, this vast territory is like, I think it's like 80 times bigger than Belgium, which has colonized us. So you can imagine. It's 4 bigger than France. So it's really, really big. It's the second largest country in Africa. So it's very big. So this big territory at that conference was given to one man, the King Leopold II of Belgium. It was like his personal garden. And he at the time, rubber was found there. Rubber was used to the automobile industry. So it was necessary for that. So I put this picture because the needs for the needs of the industry, for this industry, those who couldn't produce rubber were doomed to die. But since killing them immediately wasn't profitable, they first needed to instill fear and in a visible way in the bodies of colonized people, so it can set an example. Those who couldn't produce rubber, it could be for any reason, could be for illness, for weakness, or for political resistance. They were cutting off their hands, as I said, for those who couldn't, for those who failed to deliver rubber for the Leopold's officers. The amount that was demanded by the officers of the Leopold II. So this practice among with other colonial brutalities resulted into the what I call genocide, because it's not recognized as it. Resulted to, a historian says, to 10 million of people were killed for this practice. And Leopold II gave his personal garden to the Belgian state in 1908, which means that in less than 30 years, 10 million of Congolese were killed for rubber. A genocide genocide was committed in the name of rubber, in the name of industry. And 10 million is a half of a population who were living in that territory at that time. So 50% of people were killed. And then from 1908 to 1960, we gained our independence, thanks to one of the symbols of this independence, Patrice Lumumba, which is very known in Africa for his courage and for his fight. He was democratically elected, and in my opinion, it was the only, in Congo history, the only leader that the election result truly reflected the people's vote up to now. But less than a year of him being in power, he was killed because he was disrupting the multinational corporation's interests in Congo. And remember, in SICT, it's a Cold War. It's really, by the way, this is a nation, something that I don't understand, because I've been in war and it's really not cold. So I don't really understand this, but it was in that geopolitically that era. And because he was fighting for the Congolese independence, they consider him as a communist. So he had the Belgian on his back and the Americans and the French also on his back. So he was killed. But a friend of mine who is a historian said that he was killed not because he could be a communist or something, but really because he was disrupting the interests of big companies, and because he was saying that he will, the parliament has to decide about all, for example, minerals, etc., contracts. So it's like we don't discuss, the contract doesn't, it could be democratically if we do it, if they did like that. So it wasn't really good for the business. And so he was killed. But I'm sorry, I have to also explain how he was killed, but it's also important. They cut him in pieces and they dissolved him in acid. And the only thing that remains for this man is a tooth that the Belgian state has finally decided to give to Congo and to his family so that they can mourn in 2021. So let's go to Mobutu's era. Between 60 and 65, it's not really interesting for today. So Mobutu has participated in this complot, how do you say complot? Complot? Conspiracy, thank you, to make him, to kill him. So Mobutu was working with Americans, Belgian secret services. So he was with them. He came in power thanks to them. Here we have two men. One who was democratically elected by the people, and the ones who was brought to power by the interest of Westerners. And we will have 32 years of Mobutu's dictatorship in Congo. But I forgot something. When Leopold II decided to give Congo, it's also because the rubber followed down, and it wasn't profitable enough, so he gave it to the Belgian state. And just a few years later, they discovered uranium in Congo and other numerous resources, including copper, diamonds, etc. And the uranium of Congo will be used in the bomb which was used in Nagasaki and Hiroshima in Japan. So now let's go back to this. Mobutu will be in power for 32 years. And before his last year in power, there is something that happened in the region. And I wrote many things. Sorry. It is the Rwandan genocide. Which also now it's open. You can search for it. We saw that France has really played a big role in this, but it's not only French, because it is these things started in the colonization. So the Belgian has the ones who have started it to make differences between people. It is their policy. It was their policies in Rwanda. But in 1994, it's France. France has created humanitarian corridor. Je confondais le corridor, sorry. And in that, armed men mixed with civilians flew to Congo. And these armed men, their goal was to go back in their country to retake their country, because they were they lose the war, and they by those who have stopped the genocide. So these ones wanted to go back and to take revenge, if I can say that. And So that was a big threat for the new government in Rwanda. And so this new government has decided to invade Congo. But invading a country is illegal now. I mean, I hope. So they make a deal with Kabila, Laurent Désiré Kabila, which who was one who was fighting Mobutu's power, but at this time he was really tired and he didn't have enough money or people to support him. So now he made a deal with Rwanda, which has finished just to make a war. So they had military and arms, so they could do a war. And they did it in 1997, and that's how Mobutu have left the power, and Kabila came to power. Kabila was also killed, I will talk it later, in 2001. He was, how do you say, remplacé? Replaced by his son at that time. But his son wasn't the president of parliament or something. He was a general in the army that they brought him, that your father has died, come to power. So it's really bizarre. And also, how can I say it? He came to power like that. And now, today, we have Tshisekedi who is in power after making a deal with Kabila, because Kabila has been in power for 18 years. So people started to demonstrate, etc. So Kabila left the power, made a deal with Tshisekedi. Tshisekedi now is in power. Tshisekedi is the son of the minister who worked with Mobutu to kill to the conspiracy with to kill Lumumba. So we have and Congo is not a kingdom. Yeah. So it's not by heritage. You don't come in power. You shouldn't come in power by heritage, but we are now led with that. So it's to make a resume for what I was saying, this is what we call from 96 to 97. This is what we call the war for power, or also the first Congolese war, or also the first African World War. And the ingredients of this, it was the Rwandan genocide, 32 years of dictatorship, separated by the USA, Belgium, and France, but also really the desire of change, because after 32 years of dictatorship, people are tired, so sometimes they need to change. Yeah. Comment? Ah oui. Yeah. Yes. After the first war, immediately the second war started. What we call also the second African World War. And here, it coincides with the boom of electronic industry, 1997. And we can see at that time that the price of coltan has really increased. The price of, all these minerals that are necessary for the electronics has really increased. And quickly, these farm allies, Rwanda and Kabila. Rwanda was also a friend with Uganda. They started. They realized that they realized that not only they could find the war, because you need money to make a war, but they were sitting on a huge amount of wealth. This led them to straight into a new conflict. So this one. And this time against each other. So everyone was fighting to have a big part of pie. The pie is Congo. Because they couldn't agree anymore, so to summarize and conclude this, the first Congo War was triggered by the Rwandan genocide, followed by 32 years of dictatorship and the desire for real change. After the First War, which is also, as I said, it is a war of the power, at least in appearance, because at that time, a mineral was also necessary to the war. So, and what I want to say is, here we can see that this war was for the economic interest. And as you can see at that PowerPoint, you can see that the war was concentrated in the eastern part of the country, and it's where these minerals are located. So we can say that there is kind of a causal link between access to these minerals and the war. So let's go to the consequences of these wars. 6 million people were killed. 6 million. This is the deadliest war after the Second World War, the European one. And we have also 4 million of external exile, which, and if I stand before you today, I'm a proof living of this data, if you can say that. I'm one of them, of those 4 millions who were out of the country because of the war and the politics. And over 1,000 of women were raped every day. And I must apologize, but I need to describe these rapes. The girls as young as 3 months were raped. The grandmothers of, let's say, 90 years old also were raped. This armed group they burned plastics and inject into the woman's private parts. when it's not, when they, and sometimes they could also insert sticks or broken glasses. So just like during the colonial era, the goal is to instill fear in the bodies of oppressed people. At this time is to instill fear in the bodies, but in all the societies, so people can leave their land and let the space for these armed groups to exploit what is underground. Yeah, in Congo, the war is being fought on the bodies of women. I mean, every person in Congo is a victim of war, but the women are the ones who are suffering much way of this war. Mm. And also, I want to remind something, because they do this because to kill these people by the bullets, it's too expensive. So also here you can see the capitalistic logic in the extermination of population, because killing people with the bullet is too expensive. They do it in another way. So even in the death, you have a capitalistic logic. This is how wars is. I've been in France now for a long time now, and after the increase of Ukrainian conflict, I heard at the radio, there is a radio called RMC in France, where they say that Europeans or Westerns people are more, how can I say, they feel solidarity with the Ukrainians only or much better because they have the same cars with the other parts of the rich countries, or let's be simply clear, because they are whites. So if death of 6 million people don't affect you, or if the use of rape as a weapon of mass destruction doesn't steal your humanity, because these women are African, Black, they live far from Europe. There is something that knows no borders. It's climate change. Today, as I started by saying, the beauty of Congo and of its nature, today these Congolese forests is endangered in part due to the mining industry. we lose 500,000 hectares of forests each year. These forests help to sequester 10 years of worth of CO2 emissions. So it's really important for all the planet. And so the endangerment of these forests will have repercussion not only for Black people, for Africans, for Congolese, but for the entire planet. So if you don't feel what I've said, if you don't feel connected to these people, there is something that it should connect. Is this forest? Let's move on to the extraction methods. But here are some key figures or data. 80% of the world's coltan comes from Congo. 60% of world's, more than 60% of world cobalt comes from Congo. We produce 5.36 million of copper each year. We are the second producers after Chile, I think. Chile or Peru, I have to check. So this is some data for how much Congo is important in these issues that we are talking to today. So if you go back to the extraction, 20% of Congolese minerals are extracted through a artisanal method. Artisanal methods can mean here child labor. We have 40,000 children who work in the mines, sorry. Adults and child who works in mines, they work without any protection and without any contract. So this is artisanal. The industrial method, so 80% of Congolese minerals are extracted through the so-called industrial method. Here, it can also mean government corruption. And when I say government corruption, I want to break a feeling of superior that some Europeans can have. Say, they are corrupted. Yes, but we have also to look who corrupt them. So the ones who are corrupted and the one who corrupts are the same. They all destroy. And industrial means also political destabilization in Congo. I put an example of to extract 1 ton of copper, you need like a space like 3 Eiffel Tower. And in the surface, I don't know how to say superficie. Surface, yeah, you need like 3 football stadium. So it's really bigger. So you can imagine what is around, it's all dead for this. And you have to use other chemicals, product, to clean, etc., in order to have a pure copper. So it's ridiculous. Um, uh, I really like to show this thing that I know only, how can I say, well, I really know this thing because I've been there. Here you have people fleeing the war, so they leave a zone A for a zone B. But in zone B, there is maybe other people or other living beings, which can sometimes lead to the scarcity of resources. And that can lead to a conflict. But some bad journalists, they keep focus on this kind of conflict to say that the conflict that we are living in Congo is an ethnic conflict. We are, as I said, 400 different people. So if our hobby is to kill each other, we couldn't exist anymore. But there is some really journalists who write paper to say that. And they forget that if these conflicts exist, it's because of the exploitation of our resources. So it casts a veil on rich countries and rich companies' responsibility. Yeah, it's really good for them to think that we are killing each other than to think why you have now a launch of iPhone 16, for example. So yeah. So it's whitewash all these big companies. But the history that I'm talking, some countries has tried to make regulations. As you can see in USA, they did what they did the so-called Dodd-Frank Act in 2010. And in Europe, try to do the same. But for me, it's really hypocrite because of this. As you can see now, what is going on, the minerals comes from Congo, they go to China, and the China spreads all over the world in the form of finished product. So the history of raped women, of these forests, of these people, is disappear on this. So these works. It works because there is no minerals, no blood minerals which comes in their countries. But you have the product of it. That's why I say it's hypocrite. And one of my fear now is, in France, what we call ecological transition. And this symbol of it, he said that about it, is the electric cars. And as you can see, only rich countries are in this competition of it. And as you can see, there is an increase of demands of these tools, and also the increase of the demand of the minerals. And that, for me, this is my hypothesis, it will lead to a third war. Because as you can see, the demand still increase, and now you have resources scarcity, and also led by the Chinese domestic demand. Really, they also want to do green things, but also due to what I could say, strategic policies of China because of this. So they have all the minerals which comes from China, and so China, you know, there is what I can say, this competition between China and USA now, and this it can lead us again to return to the situation where they killed people. But to make a small clarification, I'm not saying that the monopoly of China is good for us. I'm not calling to be colonized by Chinese. What I want to say here is because we don't think about the way we live now, so we think that solutions are in the electric cars and bring this. And now we have the competition, which is going back. What I like to say every day is, if in 2001 they used to kill a village, the situation now is they kill quartier, a hood. It doesn't mean that it's better. It's a cold war, an African one, because it's not really cold. And now we can, at that time that I'm saying, we have the war has started. We have 6.8 million of intern refugees because the war started in the North Kivu. Now that we are talking, people are being killed by the armed group. I forgot to talk about these data, but as you can see, just we have Apple who has 1 billion budget, and the budget of Congo. The budget of Congo, like for 20 years, was for 5 billion, sorry, and last year we were at 16. That is the highest budget that we had, 16 billion, compared to these big companies that they have. It's really ridiculous, nonsense, but that is how it is. And so let's maybe go to the solutions. You see, solutions could exist. First of all, we have to think that this is not natural. It's social constructed. So we can, first of all, defertilize. Yeah, c'est bon, je vais dans yes. You can find all this on our website. So it's more, you can read it, it's more clear. And this summer we did a march in the eastern of France where we brought, we wrote something, the solutions that could be applied. Some of the examples are this, and you can find this our tribune. I don't know how to say tribune in English, I'm sorry. It was signed by more than 300 people. We wrote it with SICT. It's an NGO, an Nigerian NGO. We wrote it with other people who work on this in these issues. And so we brought some of the solutions so you can have time to read it. But what I want to say, the really important thing that we want really is the end of the neocolonialism. And now I know that it's a dream, but this is really necessary. It's just not only philosophy thing. It's the end of this system this system must end so that we can breathe, we can live. And reparation is really important. Sometimes when I talk about this, people only bring me in techniques. How do you do this? Which product is more better than this? And this is how they think. So we forgot that there is raped people, there is people who have been injured, the nature has been destroyed, and we forget about the reparation. Let's start by also reparation. Reparation of the bodies of people, the reparation of the nature, but also reparation of our tools, because that can bring to a shortage of the system, because if these big companies don't sell because your tools can be repaired for a long time, so they will not have this much power to impose their rules to the governments and etc. So we really have to work on the right to repair, but also sometimes to give up, just to renoncer in French, just to give up, just to say we don't use it. If it's not ethical, we don't use it, or we don't produce it if it's not ethical. That's also necessary. It's not so you see, it changes with the discussion of performance. We need to mix. I like also to say that technology, it's blind. So you need to mix it with ethical. Without ethical, technology can bring to this what I've tried to explain in my part English. So thank you for your listening, and I'm here for the questions.
Here, and in the back, and over there. I suggested we take these 3 questions, then we go to the panel, and then there's ample time to have more discussion and also questions to David. It's too bad Eleni will not be here, because I wonder how her framework of excellence goes with the stopping of the neocolonialism. I guess it doesn't, but...
I thought you're gonna keep it just to make sure I not speak too long. So I get a question: if you are aware of any kind of how the labor classes organized there, are there working unions, cooperatives, or any kind of a hope or like systems that prove to at least at little point work fine in a way it enrich local communities, or it's been done or initiated by local communities? Is any hope there on the horizon?
Let's say if I wasn't optimistic, I couldn't be here. Yeah, I came here because I'm optimistic, really. And it is devoir. Sorry, it's a duty. It's a duty for me to be optimistic because of all this. It's a duty. But yeah, there is hope. But what I truly believe the colonialism has its hands, its power in this land. So we have to fight the colonialism from where it comes. So for me, the hope, I don't want to say the hope must come from here, but you have to fight from here so that all our initiative there can have power. If nothing is done here, if you don't do this, if your policies continues to do the business as usual, then all these initiative, cooperatives, etc., it will be like just what can I say? Greenwashing. No, the things that will be just there so to give humanity to these actions. So the cooperative, which is artisanal and have copper, for example, or cobalt, they will sell it to whom, and what is the final product. And this is what's happened. They are a cooperative who sells these to the local to now we have really big no, not big, small boutiques of people from Malaysia or from China who buy this, and then they also sell to the big ones, etc. So it's, for me, it's not really a solution. The solution must be a collective solution from the states, from the EU, and it must comes from the group, from the organizing groups. So I'm here, I'm giving you also the duty to organize yourselves, to, to inspire that there is another way of doing this. There is that's the message. Yeah. I'm not sure that I've answered, but that is my point of view.
Thanks. We have another question here before I walk up.
Thank you. Maybe a bit of a cynical thought, but how large do you, or how big is the threat that if there was no conflict, which would be good on like almost every level, but if there was no conflict, that the people in Congo would still exploit the forests, or maybe at an even larger extent, maybe using the capitalist logic, exploit the forests and increase, or at least not reduce destruction? And second question, is there also positive perception of the Chinese influence in Congo among Congolese?
First of all, let me say that we are the same. So I'm not saying that if the conflict wasn't there, we couldn't exploit our forests. I don't know. But there are people who live in this forest. And if this forest exists, because they have protected it. So maybe for this long journey that they have with this forest, they have, imagine, and they know how much this forest is important for them. So, yeah, I think there would be people who will protect this forest, and there would be, the part of people who think that let's use it. But now the problem that we have, we have in power people who really are not ecologists. So they are, because what? Because it is the same class of people, or with these big companies, chief, it is the same class. So the interests are the same. if that class is not ecological, I'm not sure that our politics are also ecological. So that is part of the answer. I didn't really understand what you said. You said that it gives a positive view of China in Congo. Yes, good question. No, but no, but this is geopolitics, right? And it's just the diversification of actors. I've been in the French Parliament arguing with our Congolese ambassador in France. And he was calling for Total Energy to go in Congo and to exploit petroleum and gas in this forest. So you see, for him, the one who have money is the one who is better. So, yes, I don't know. Mm.
They were funding the football stadium in capital. They were making a big road, not asking the questions that we do with that about human rights. So for the people in power, the Chinese to do it, and football station, some people like that. I mean, they bring some hearts and minds with it. But of course, they have their own restaurants, their own clothing shops, their own workers coming in from China who not work the work. So they try to get away with it, but most people don't really like them, and they are not doing any better.
What I can say, there is no a good colonialist.
I actually have two, but I think one was going to be very quick. First question, do you have a number of how many international companies, players do you have there?
Well, as I said, is you can find numbers. You can go search for them at the Congolese Ministry of Mines. You can find, but for me it's not really it's really not necessary because of these laws that exist in EU and USA. So they are hidden by those. So somebody who is in mind work for somebody in transformation, and somebody in transformation work for etc. up to BMW, etc., etc. So all the chain, it's linked. So for me, it's way better to think as a link. And if you start by the only word that comes is cutting the head, because I live in France, so cut the head of these big ones, then the chains will follow. Sorry, it's a French culture.
No, I get it. My second question is a little bit connected, and I'm sorry for my ignorance, but I wondered if you could elaborate the dynamics of conflicts. If I understood correctly, this is civil war we are talking, the Congolese, right? The armed groups are the Congolese. Do you know who is funding the armed groups? And are the official reason, like one of the official reasons, are they trying to get a hold of the mining territory, or they are political reasons behind and trying to get into the power?
First of all, politics and mining in Congo, it's the same. You can do politics without an interest in mining, because this is the big thing. Yeah, we have what I forgot to say. We have last year when I did this conference in Paris, we had 1 and 31 and no 60, 1 and 60, yeah, 160 armed group, all in the eastern part of Congo. Now the UN reports on Congo, for this year, says that they have se sont multipliés par they have multiplied by 2. And in those groups, there are one which is real big than the others, which is called M23. You might know it. They are funded by the Rwandan government to make a war in Congo, so that they can exploit resources from Congo to go in Rwanda, because Rwanda is not a conflict country, so it can be whitewashed there, and can send it, and it's cool. And I've searched, to measures, and I saw that like last year or 2 years, I will send data. Rwanda has registered 1 billion in his project comes from mining. And there is a time Rwanda, I think it's also true now, Rwanda was the first producer of coltan in the world, knowing that its geological system doesn't have enough coltan in it. So, and Rwanda is the allies, or its allies of the United States. So you see, it's really, yes, what I want to say is just you can find, if you follow the money, you can find who is who, but we have too much groups. And my fear is now everyone can go in Congo and find a armed group, so to control a part of mineral, etc. In the region where I came from, where my parents come from, my father, it is in Fizi, it is near Tanzania. They are in the South Kivu. They are also mining there, and I had phone calls that they also they are a new armed group in those where near of the mines. So those will I think they will sell it to a specific person who sell to another one, and by following the money, you can find who really controls all the chain. That's the answer I can give you by now. And my English is really, so I'm trying to explain, it's not easy.
One final question, and then we head to the break.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup pour la présentation. In the capitalist system, the purpose is to make the profit grow by exploiting two things, either nature or population, or both at the same time, with a target to have a low-cost production mean, or a cheap production mean. I guess this is something quite similar here, the fact that the production cost or the extraction cost should be low, and this is the reason why there are informal and also with conflicts for the access to the resource. Now, imagining that if we imagine that the market for those resources that are exploited in the Congo would be different, in a sense that the market cost would be much higher, which means that the demand would also go low or go down. Would it be possible either in the future, or would it have been possible if it was like that at the start of the exploitation of the resource, to have a sustainable usage or extraction of a limited amount of resource from Congo, where there would not be social harm and an acceptable usage of nature there. So is it only the cost or price argument or a criterion enough for a feature or parameter that is enough to change the situation? Or even if the cost would go 10 times higher and the demand 10 times lower, it would be just the same?
Even it's doing, now it's higher, but there is sometimes, in the market, it's changed. But even those change, what I really want to do, and here there is some researchers that we want to do with my association is to prove the cause link between when the war becomes really hard and to see the demand on the market. So you can just say there is no discussion because you have seen it. So I didn't do this research because I don't have money and time for that. But if there is volunteers to do with us, we are okay. But to answer your question, to go further in your question, I don't believe in market. I did the economics. I don't believe in market. So I think we need a government which can have much power to make norms, to make laws, and which it can impose to these big data. You will tell me that even the EU is not able to, to impose it. But that's my dream, I can say. Because if we had a government which is, for example, which can do of what Lumumba dreamed to do, just to discuss the contracts in the parliament, it can change many things. Now we don't have it. So I think the market is not the solution, but we can see that the more these minerals are needed, the more we see the growth of band armed, the more we see bad consequences of extractivism in this country. And yeah, so maybe the problem is the demand. Yeah.
Thank you very much, David. Please give him an applause. Thank you.